Hello everyone, thank you for taking the time to be in this chair mobility class. So what I'll do first is kind of present on what this is all about and then do some movements after that. But for the most part, if you have a lot of time that you're dealing with in a chair, you can move your body within that chair. If you're focused on work or something else, take these movements today and incorporate it within 5 minutes out of your day. You know, it could be within a break. It could be where, okay, I can still focus or do my work, but I can move either my hips, my foot, my neck, whatever the case may be. This is a great opportunity to learn different stuff within your body. But before we get to that, I had to put this up here because sitting is, I wouldn't say it's the new smoking, but if you sit for a long period of time, certain things can happen to your body, not from a musculoskeletal standpoint, but from a hormonal standpoint, from a cognitive standpoint. All these things can impact your body if you're sitting for a long period of time. Muscular imbalances, limited functions, pain. I think pain is one of the main key factors here because you have gravity is going down against you, but then you probably not aware of your posture. So certain things tend to get in the way. So when you look at your lower back, a lot of people have this low specific pain in their lower region of their back. And when that starts to become an issue, then other joints of the body can take an effect as well. So you look at your hips, back of your thighs, your knees, even your feet. So think about just not only with the lower back issue, but you have other parts of your body that can take an impact as well if you're seated or in a seated position for such a long time. I had to pull this up here because it talks about fascia, and it's a connective tissue that envelopes around the muscles, the joints, the ligaments, and I had to compare it to an orange because when you peel that orange, it has the most important part of the fruit. And so that's a layer. So when you peel off that other layer, it has another part of that fruit. So it just relates to your fascia, your connective tissue of your body. It's that spider web type of material, and it has important properties in there as well. It can be very elastic, it could be viscous, it could remodel. There's something where it could have this plasticity to it. So there's so many different properties with your connective tissue that's very important. And I had to compare it to that orange. And I wanted to make sense for everybody in that relation to what your connective tissue is of your body. It's that envelope around the muscles, the tendons, the joints, all that stuff. So your skeleton is really wrapped around that. And how this all came about was from this famous author named Thomas Myers. It was about anatomy trains. And at first I thought, well, this doesn't make a lot of sense. It was very in-depth. But when he talked about you have slings of your body, this is what it came out to be. And this is your myofascial slings. You have connective tissue that goes to the front of the body on the far left. When you look next to it, it has the posterior or the back side of the body. So it goes from the back of your head all the way down to your heel. When you look at the other one, it has spiral type of connective tissue that goes around the body. When you look at the fourth part of the human body, it has everything that goes in a cross-sectional type. So it goes from the back to your butt and then back down. And then when you look at the final one, it has more deeper layers of the connective tissue. So when I looked at that book and I saw all this plays a part in how your body moves, it made sense to me. And so this is why I really focus on when I deal with a person who either has a certain pain or they're just limited in walking, running, moving their body in all different planes of motion. I work off of this because if there's something with the low back issue, I probably look at the foot. If something's wrong with their feet, I could work on their feet a little bit and then work up the body. I really don't work primarily on where that pain site is at for the lower back. You know, I will work elsewhere. I look at a different joint area. So anyway, I really liked this whole slide based off of his book. And it's the Fascial Slings from Thomas Myers. So any practical applications that you can take out of this class, here's a few of them. If you want to sit less, you can vary your seated positions. And what I mean by varying your seated positions, you can take your left foot out in front, your right foot back. So for example, I'll just take a seat here. And instead of having your feet parallel, I can go ahead and just have my left foot out in front, right foot's back a little bit. Or I can go vice versa. I could take my feet and go a little bit toe out if I want to, like so. I can take my feet and go a little toe in. And then I can also take my feet, I can go back against the chair, and then I can go ahead and go toe in with my right foot and go toe in with my left foot. And then I go toe out with my right foot, toe out with my left foot. And then I can switch the stance if I want to. So I can do that with the seated position. I can also take my feet, just have it parallel with each other. And then I can take my hip and I can go, so imagine that's in front of you a clock. So I can go 12 o'clock with my hip, and then I can move my tailbone at 6 o'clock. And then I can also take my hip and go 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. So left, right. You don't want to kind of do this with your torso yet. You want to move at the hip. So keep this top portion staying put and move below that, if that kind of makes sense. So think 12, 6, 9, and 3. It's kind of like you're taking your butt and you're rubbing against the seat. You're cleaning the seat underneath you. Postural awareness, micro movements. So the micro movements, we'll go a little bit into that in a little bit. But that's something where we're going to kind of move your body in all different planes of motion. Intersperse your periods of sitting with physical activity. So if there's a point where, okay, I have to go to the bathroom, I have to get up, walk a little bit, do a little bit of moving your foot, go heel to toe as you're walking. Or you can go a little bit with your toes out and walk, or toes in and walk. You can kind of move your head left to right, up and down as you're walking. I wouldn't get into that point yet, but just think about your feet. I just wanted to go look eyes on the horizon, walk, but try going toes in or toes out and see if that works. And kind of just working with your brain, that coordination type of pattern. Because everybody just walks on how they feel is comfortable for them. But let's kind of focus on, let's try with toes in, let's try with toes out, and then walk to your destination and see how that feels. And then the mobility and neuromuscular activation as part of your training. We'll get a little bit with the mobility part, but the neuromuscular part is working with that brain-body type of connection. It really is a great book that I read. It was talking about the human brain and how important that organ is when it's trying to send messages to a certain muscle to react on a certain thing. It could be reaching, it could be picking something up from the ground. Whatever the case is, from a neural standpoint, the human brain is the main kicker there for anything that you have to do. And it relays that message to the spinal cord and to the rest of the body. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to move. So again, I don't want to bore you to death with the PowerPoint presentation, but for the majority of this time in the class, we're going to just do stuff with the chair. So we make sure you have a chair handy, no wheels. You want to make sure that the chair's not going to move. And this is what we're going to focus on. We're going to do neck, wrist, back, hip, trunk, and shoulder movements. So I had to bring a cheat sheet because there's a lot of stuff here that I would want to get through this class time. And it's going to be about like 10 seconds with each of these movements. So the first one is your neck. So you're going to be in a seated position. You're going to take your neck. Let's kind of look, you're just going to look up. And then you're going to take chin down. And then we're going to look to where your eyes are facing forward. Now we're just going to go take your head, look left. You're going to look left with look ahead. Then you're going to look right. And then we'll come back to center. And now we're going to take your chin and you're going to go left side of your armpit. So you're going to go left to your armpit. And then I just want you to nod in that position with your head. And then we're going to go ahead and just lift your chin up, look center. Then we're going to go to the right side of your armpit. And then we'll nod. There. So you're looking down with your eyes. Come back to center. And now we got your wrist. So, wrist, we're going to take your hands and we're going to just go like you're revving the motorcycle. If you're on the motorcycle, just revving that little engine there. And then we're just going to go knuckles facing up. And then we can go fingers in, out. And then we go circular motion. We go circular motion with your hands. And then we go reverse direction with your hands. Working around the wrist joint. Okay, perfect. Now, we're going to do some reaches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your right arm. So go ahead and take your right arm. You're going to reach behind you. See how far you can reach behind you and then come back. And then you're going to do the same thing. So you're just going to reach behind you and then come back. We'll do a couple more times. You're just taking that one arm. See how far you can go back. But the thing is, you don't want your rib cage to flare out or get so much arch here on the back. So you want to see how far you can go and then just come back. And now we're going to take your left arm. We're going to take that left arm and see how far you can reach back. You're just going behind your body. And you'll notice the difference on which side's a little better than the other. We'll do a couple more times with that. And so that's a back reach. So now what's not on here is I'm going to reach forward. So you're going to take both your arms. You're going to take both your arms. We're going to reach to your toes. And then you're going to come back. And then we're going to reach to your toes again. And then come back. So your hip is on the seat. You're going to reach forward, touch your toes, come back. We'll do a couple more times. We're just reaching forward. There's a couple areas you can feel this. You can feel this in your lower back. You can feel this back of your thighs because you're reaching out to your toes. You can feel this around the hip region. You can feel this around your arms. So we have that with a reach. Now we can take the trunk and have you move your trunk. So we're going to take your arms. You're going to have about shoulder height. And now I just want you to rotate to your right. You're going to rotate right about 5 times there. And let your eyes follow your hands or your fingers. And now we're going to go left. So now we're going to have you rotate left. Still keeping your hips on the seat. Again, we'll just do about five reps here for time's sake. Perfect. Now we can take your trunk, and we can go forward and backwards. So what you're seeing here is a lot of combination stuff that's coming up here. So we're going to take your arms, you're going to reach your toes, then you're going to reach back, and then you're going to reach your toes, and then you're going to reach back, and then reach your toes again, and then back. So we did a back reach and a forward reach, and now we're just combining the two, but we're moving through what your range is. So everybody's range of motion is going to be different with this. We'll just do one more time. And then we'll just kind of come back. How do you feel? You feel a little bit pretty good with the shoulders, the back. You feel good there. So now we're just going to take the trunk movement where we go left to right. So now we're going to go right and left. So I would just, so you don't get so dizzy here, is just go right, come back to center, left, come back to center, and then right, back to center, and then left. And just pause it right there. Because I don't want you to get too dizzy because your eyes, your body's moving in a certain direction. You could get a little dizzy here if you kind of keep going within that motion. So now we can take your left foot. We're going to work on the bottom. So you can take your left foot. We're going to go heels on the ground. Your toes are off the ground. Your other foot's staying flat. So remember the reaches that we were doing. Now we're going to incorporate a little bit on the back thigh region of this leg. So now I'm going to go ahead and reach to my toes and then reach back and then reach to my toes again, and then back. Does that feel a little different? If it does, then that's just because your toes are off the ground, and now we're just working that back part of your thigh as you're doing these reaches. So again, you're just going to do one more reach. Now here's the kicker. So you're going to take your toes, and you go toes in. So I want you to still work on the same foot. We're going to go toes in. Now I want you to reach forward and then back, and then reach forward and back. That might feel a little different too because of how your toes are turned in. We're working the different areas of the back of your thigh. So now we're going to take your foot and we're going to go toes out. So you go toes out, and you just turn your foot toes out. And now I'm just going to go ahead and reach to your toes and then back, like so. Again, I'll turn to the side to kind of see from the side view. So again, my toes are out. I'm reaching. I'm going back as far as I can. That's all right if my back of the body is going to the chair. Just making sure everything is staying in place. There's no wheels on the chair. And now we did that side. Now we're going to try the other side. So now we're going to go toes off the other foot, heels on the ground. And now we're just going to reach forward and back. So keep it within like 5 reps. So you just do about 5 repetitions. And then after your 5th repetition, we're going to go toes in. So now you're just going to take your foot, go toes in, then reach forward, back for 5 reps. So here's 2 for me, 3, there's 4, and there's 5. And now we're just going to go toes out. So now we got toes out, and then we're going to reach to your toes, go back, reach to your toes again. I got 1 more rep. Perfect. Awesome. So now we did the reaches. So hip, we worked the trunk, shoulder movements. So with the hip, this is important with the hip. So to go back to what I mentioned about earlier is we did the 12, 6, 3, and 9. We're going to work on the 12 and 6. If you're not great at doing the 3 and 9 o'clock, I would focus on 12 and 6. So you're going to keep your trunk steady. And again, you're going to clean your seat. So you can go 12 and then 6. So you're just moving your tailbone. Just moving your tailbone 12 and 6. Now you don't want to dump your torso like this. You want to keep yourself upright like a string's on top of your head and it's pulling you up to the ceiling. So just move the hip. And I'll turn to the side. Kind of see what that looks like, but this part here is going to go 12 and 6. And I'm just keeping this upright. I'm keeping this tall. I'm not arching too far back, and I'm not in this position. So again, I'm keeping myself upright, and I'm just moving my hip 12 o'clock and then 6 o'clock. And if you feel good there, then you're going to go 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So now my sit bones, I'm moving my sit bones a little bit. I'm still tall with my body. And again, I'm not slouched or not arching backwards. So now I'm going left to right. So I'm going left to right with my hips. And then if you want to get rotation, I would just take your opposite hands, put on your shoulders, and then you're going to rotate left and right. Now, let's keep your eyes looking forward. Here's something that's important too. So if you take your head and follow your rotation or your turn, you're going to go a little bit farther. Now just take your eyes, look at the horizon. I want you to see how far you can rotate right, rotate left, and then keep going, rotating right and left as you're moving your torso. You're keeping your head staying put. Yep, keeping your head. So if you're watching this and you're trying this at home, where do you feel, are you good left or right hand side? And for some people, they'll know, hey, I'm going a little bit farther right and left. Now I want you to take your head, take the head and move with the trunk. So now you're going to go ahead and take your head and move right. So now you're going to move your body right, and now you're going to move your head left, and then we'll go right, and then left. So you're keeping your hip staying put, and now we're moving above the hip. So now we're just going left and right. And the reason for that is there's sections of the body that we want to move at a certain rate. So we want to move the bones a certain way, because if they don't, then certain things can happen where if certain bones are moving farther or faster, then the joint's going to feel something. So again, you want to take it to where I want to keep one part of the body seated or staying put, and I'm moving a top region. And if it's vice versa, if I'm moving the hip, I'm keeping this top portion staying put, and I'm moving below that. So, go back to my cheat sheet. Another great one for your hip is I'm sure a lot of people have done this before, have seen this. You're going to take your left leg, you're going to put it on top of your right leg, like so. And then for some, you can go ahead and you can lean forward, but when you lean forward, I don't want you to dump your body as you're leaning forward. So it goes all back to the postural awareness. You have to be aware of your body in space. So we're going to keep this tall, and now I want you to lean forward without this happening. You don't want this to happen, because obviously you can go a little farther, but keep yourself tall and then lean in and see, okay, where's that first barrier or stretch or pull that you feel? And for some, they might feel around the hip area or back of the thigh area, and just hold that for about 10 seconds. So this is a stretch that most people have been accustomed to, is just holding it. So now I want you to go ahead and go back to where you don't feel that pull. And now let's move the body through it. So now we're going to go forward, backwards, forward, and then backwards again, without holding it at a certain time frame. So now let's just move the body. You feel you're going a little bit farther as you're doing this without dumping your body? Yep. Now, we can try the other side. So you're going to try the other side. So now you're going to take that right leg on top of the left leg, and then, okay, when you lean forward, where's that barrier that you feel? Don't go to the point past that barrier. Just find a spot that feels good for you. Hold that. And now let's try to move the body. So now we're going to go back and forward. So you're rocking backwards and forwards, but keeping that awareness still with your posture. Again, I'll do about a couple more repetitions. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and take that left leg, put that left leg back on top of the right leg. Now take your left hand, put it on top of that left knee. Now what I want you to do is push down on that leg just a little bit until you feel that barrier again. And now I want you to side bend your torso the opposite direction. So if I'm working the left side hip, I'm going to side bend my torso to the right. So I'm going to push down my left hand on my left knee, and I'm going to side bend right. Again, you should feel a little pull here above the hip into this region. And then you just come back, and then you're going to push down, and then side bend right. Now, you can take this left hand off this, put this overhead. Now, I can go ahead and just reach, and then come back with the arm, and then reach overhead. So now I'm side bending right with my torso. So I'm side bending right, this leg is crossed. And it's almost like as if I'm making a top portion of the C, the letter C. And now we're going to go ahead and switch. So now we're going to try the other side. Again, you're going to take that right hand on top of that right knee. You're going to press down a little bit, and I want you to side bend left. So you're going to side bend left as you're pushing down on the knee. Keeping your eyes looking forward. Come back to center. Push down a little bit. Side bend your torso. to your left, and then come back. And now we're going to take that right hand, put it overhead, and I want you to side reach left. So you take your right hand overhead, reach left as far as you can, and then come back to center, and then reach left hand side. Again, this is all while you're in seated position. It's kind of moving your body within those positions. All right, perfect. So now, you got to turn the chair over a little bit so you can be able to see this. Now you're just doing some diagonal reaches in a seated position. So you're going to take your right hand again, and you're going to reach left. So now I'm going across the body with the arm and reaching across. And now I'm going to go left. So now I'm looking at the camera, and so that's where your eye should be, is kind of focused forward, and don't focus on your hand as much. So again, just see how far you can reach across now. Because we did back and forward, and now we're just reaching across. Does that feel pretty good? That feels pretty good. Again, you're just kind of feeling this all through here, into the back, and reaching. So now what I want you to do is just go ahead and now just reach as upwards. So now I'm going to have you just reach as high as you can, like you're trying to pull something down, or if you're on a rope, just pulling yourself up on that rope. Kind of like that. Now I'm just kind of reaching up. And as that, again, that you should feel that along here on the side of the body on the way down as you're reaching as high as you can, just pulling down. Perfect. All right, nice. So we take all that stuff, which was the mobility section of it. We just did a lot of mobility parts where you're moving your arms, you're moving a little bit with the leg, and now we're going to incorporate it into some movements. So if you look, you got a bodyweight squat, a split squat, a deadlift with anterior reach, a lateral squat with anterior reach. I just wanted to keep it within 4 exercises just because I could put so much up there and I don't want to confuse anybody. So what you can do with the chair is you'll be in a seated position, and you can go ahead and move forward a little bit, and then you can just take your feet and you go parallel. We'll start with the easy one first. We'll just go parallel. Again, if you need something where support or balance for those who have a little bit of issue standing up, sitting down, make sure you have something handy for that, like a wall, a desk, or a table. And then what you can do is just take your arms, cross them, or you can take your hands, start at your thighs, and then we'll just kind of stand up and then sit back down. So do 5 reps. We're just going to go ahead. You can do either way, but it is a tap on the way down. So you're going to tap your butt on the seat, and then you're going to stand right back up. And then we'll just go ahead and just do 5 reps there with this. But again, your hips are reaching back and then down. So if I'll turn to the side to see from the side view. So if I'm here, that's the motion with my hips. Now we take the chair, put it off to the side. You're going to stand up from the chair, and then you're going to do a split squat. So you just take the split squat, left leg's in front, right leg's back, and you're holding onto the chair, and then you're just going to come down. So now you're just going to bring your body weight, think of your body as an elevator, going down, and then coming right back up. It's not an escalator. So again, you're just going to go down, and then back up. Again, we'll do 5 reps with that. You don't have to go as deep as I am showing you. Just go to a spot where you feel I can come right back up. And then we'll switch. And we'll just try the other side where your right leg's in front, left leg is back. The heel on the left foot that's off the ground, that's not flat. There's nothing wrong with it being flat, but you want to make sure that when you're looking at your feet, your right foot's flat because you want to press to the ground. Toes on the left foot has to press into the ground when you come back up. So think about it that way with your feet. So you're going to come down, back up. I don't know, I'm kind of getting a little sweat here, so it's just moving your body around. It doesn't have to be intense exercise, but these are just certain movements that you can incorporate throughout your day. Third one is a deadlift with the anterior reach. You can take your chair again, You can hold on to it, your feet are apart, and now all I'm going to do is just reach for an object that's in front of me. So again, if I turn to the side, I can hold on to the chair. You can have something that's out in front, another chair, another object, and then bend your knees and your hips, and then reach. This is the anterior reach portion, where you're just reaching out to grab something. So again, my hand is on the chair for stability purposes. For some that don't need it, they just reach out this way. So again, it's not a downward motion. It's not this, because that is a squat. It's more of a hinge. So if I take my hands and I make a sandwich, a hand sandwich, not a ham sandwich, a hand sandwich, I'm going to make a hand sandwich on the crease of my hip, and then I'm going to press my hips back. So that is a hinge. That's what a deadlift is. So again, you just put your hands, make a karate chop, put at the crease of your hip, and then push your hips back. Use your hands to push into your hips for that reach. And then we have a lateral squat with an anterior reach. So now we're going to kind of use the chair again, where we're going to take a wide stance with your feet. I would start off with a wide stance instead of feet together. I'll show a different progression of that. But we're going to take it where you can hold onto the chair, and then I want you to take your right hand side, shift to the side, and then just reach out in front, like you're going to grab something from the ground. So again, it's more hip and knee, and then reach. Now, if you want to progress from there, you can take your feet together, and now I can move to the side, and then reach. So that would be think of it as a lunge part. And then if I wanted to kind of do a squat part, I could just get more at the knee instead of at the hip. So now I can come down this way and reach. So now my feet are wide. Another thing I forgot is your feet. So if you sit down again, we're going to take your toes and we're going to go toes in. So we're going to keep your toes in. And now we're going to go ahead and do your stand up and sit down. So we're going to stand up, and then we're going to sit down, and then we're going to stand back up, and then back down. Again, this might feel awkward or weird at first with your toes in, but now we're going to go toes out. So you sit down again, you go toes out. Yep, just keep your toes out. Now we're going to go stand and sit. So now we're just working different regions of your thigh when you go toes out or toes in. Again, just about 5 reps. And yes, it's okay if you can rock back and then forward. That's fine. You know, I'm not going to be overly critical or criticize about these moves, just as long as you're moving. That's the whole purpose of this, is to keep yourself moving throughout your work day, or even outside of work. So that concludes the mobility part and some of the chair exercises that we just went over. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'm at 466-2371 is the extension. And then I'm sure this is going to be posted online for those who were not able to make it. Again, the whole point of this was to move your body in different planes of motion, even when you're on the chair. Because I know a lot of people that they can't be able to do the recommended activities for physical activity. So here's another way that you can be able to move your body even if you're in a seated position. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them away. I'll do the best I can to answer them. And for sure, we will hold something like this again, but at a different time frame. But then again, I thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.